Chapter 18. The Unlikely Alliance. The lobby of their Baghdad hotel was an island of quiet luxury in the dead of night. Ben, Kalen, and Anana sat around a low table. The array of empty coffee cups and the satellite images spread before them, telling the story of the hours they had spent debating. It's the only path forward, Ben said, his voice low but firm. He traced a line on a map of the Giza Plateau. We have the stone from Lyra's time. We have the three resonator machines from the dig here. But they're just the engine and the key. We're missing the chassis. We're missing the main apparatus. The pyramids, Inanna whispered, the word hanging in the air with impossible weight. Pyramids? Kalen exclaimed, her composure finally fraying. Ben, that's precisely where one might expect to find me, it seems. The voice was warm, familiar, and laced with a wry academic wit. Ben looked up, his heart stopping for a moment. Standing at the edge of their table, dressed in a sharp, if slightly travel-rumpled, three-piece suit, was Dr. Alistair Finch. Alistair! Ben shot up from his chair, his exhaustion forgotten. What in God's name are you doing here? Benny, my boy, Alistair said, his face breaking into a fatherly smile as they embraced. How could I let my most notorious student flush his entire career down the drain without at least being present to take notes? He turned his charming smile to the two women. Dr. Kalen Vance, Dr. Inanna Ferris, I presume. A pleasure. Dr. Finch, Kalen said, recovering quickly, her voice sharp with suspicion. You were supposed to meet my team at the dig site in the desert. How did you find us here? What? Ben looked back and forth between them, confused. Alistair let out a hearty laugh. She called me Ben. Miss Vance explained the situation, very vaguely, I might add, and she told me that you expressly forbade her from mentioning your name. He chuckled again. That, of course, is what made me come. If you're involved, but don't want your name mentioned, it must be something truly spectacular. Ben was speechless, a grin spreading across his face. Alistair, you have no idea. This is literally out of this world. But that doesn't answer my question, Kalen pressed, her eyes narrowed. How did you know we were at this hotel? Ah, yes, Alistair said, tapping his head. I quite forgot. I did go to your old dig site. Charming fellows with guns wouldn't let me in. I explained that I was invited. To cut a rather long and tedious story short, a rather imposing chap named Major Vanguard came out. Terribly serious. Asked me more questions than my dissertation defense committee. I simply told him I needed to speak with Miss Vance, and I would be on my way. Alistair paused for dramatic effect. He told me I would find you at this hotel. A chill went through the room. Keelan's face went pale, but her eyes hardened with a familiar cold fury. He let you through, she whispered, confirming her worst fears. He knows we're here. He's tracking us. She stood abruptly and strode to the window, looking out at the city lights without seeing them. A word, Doctor, she said, her back still to the room. Ben followed, joining her at the window. You think this is a scientific race against a rival consortium, she began, her voice a low, dangerous whisper. It never was. You need to understand who and what you are up against. Vanguard is not just a soldier following orders. He's a key player in a splinter group that has known about this for over 50 years. They have their own data, their own artifacts from a different crash. Ben stared at her, stunned into silence. This was the vulnerability he'd never seen. Not of weakness, but of a commander laying the brutal truth of the battlefield bare. Geodynamics wasn't created to dig up lost history, Ben, she confessed, finally turning to face him, her eyes burning with intensity. It was founded for one purpose: to find the Sentinel network before they do. This has never been a mission of discovery. It's a containment mission. And right now, she admitted, the words tasting like ash, we are losing. He's letting us do the legwork because he thinks he can take the prize at the finish line. Ben returned to the table, the weight of Kalen's confession settling over him. He looked at his old mentor. Alistair, he began, you're going to want to sit down for this. For the next hour, they laid it all out: the visions, the fracture, the stolen machines, Vanguard's shadow war. Alistair listened, his initial skepticism melting away into a state of profound, shell shocked awe. So, the myths, the gods, they were all just echoes of a forgotten science? He finally managed, his voice barely a whisper. The most important science in human history, Ben confirmed. And Vanguard wants to turn it into a weapon. We have to beat him to it. We have to reactivate the main apparatus at Giza. Ben, that's madness, Alistair protested. This isn't a secret dig in a remote desert anymore. This is the Giza Plateau. This is the most famous, most monitored place on Earth. He's right, Inanna added, her voice laced with pragmatic concern. The logistical and political hurdles are insurmountable. We'd be caught before we even unloaded the equipment. The daunting, frightening reality of their predicament loomed like a dense fog, hiding the way forward. Kalen, who had remained quiet until now, finally broke the silence, her voice slicing through the uncertainty with authoritative clarity. They're both right, she said, looking at Ben. It is impossible. We can't plan an operation of this magnitude from a hotel room in Baghdad. We're flying blind. She paused, her eyes glinting with a dangerous, decisive light. So we stop flying blind. We need to be on the ground. We need local assets, technical support, and a deep understanding of the terrain. We need to get closer. She looked at each of them in turn, her decision made. Pack your bags, she commanded. We're going to Cairo.